Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation episode 114. I'm Jeff, and today we're checking out every new indie releasing for the Nintendo Switch from May 9th through the 15th. After that, we'll check out the eShop deals and help make sure you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced. New episodes post to YouTube on Tuesday, and you can also find us on your podcast service of choice thanks to our friends at the Nintendo Village. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't. Check out some of this week's new games with us Thursday night on Twitch for Nindies at Night. And if you want to hang out on Twitter or Discord, the links to all the things are in this episode's description. We've got a great show this week, citizens. All kinds of stuff worth checking out, and I can't wait to get into it. Before that, though, we need to take a look at the games that snuck onto the eShop since last week's recording. So to kick off episode 114 of Nindie Nation, let's get this ball rolling with the 7 Neglected Nindies that released since episode 113. First up this week is a pixel platformer that I think you're gonna like. Nindie newcomers Ben James and Refold bring Sector 781 or 781 to the eShop for $5.99. I get vibes that fall somewhere between Zeodrifter and Gato Roboto with a sci-fi themed adventure that features upgrades and multiple realms to explore. The trailer boasts some delightful chiptunes, and you can actually play the game for free on itch.io right now if you want to try it out first. Might put this one on Nindies at Night, so stay tuned. And then Sungrand released the intro portion of their action survival horror called Silver Falls Episode Prelude for $7.99. With a mix of what looks like some over-the-shoulder gunplay, third-person spooky stuff, and cinematic exploration, you're a delivery driver who gets pulled into some kind of otherworldly chaos that is apparently going to play out over multiple episodes. This first episode does seem extra short, and we don't really know when the future episodes are going to release. So for those reasons, I would say if you're really interested in this one, you might want to wait for a sale or at least reviews before going too deep down this rabbit hole. Ratalaika released Infestor for $3.99, and it's developed by Wobblyware, one of my favorite Ratalaika studios, who's also responsible for Devious Dungeon and Daggerhood. This is a pixel puzzle platformer, say that 3 times fast, with a shtick where you take over the bodies of other characters, and it looks like a pretty solid little weekend playthrough. And then Forever Entertainment says,
"Welcome to an old, ruined train station. A place that will give you a lot of fun."
Train station renovation is exactly what it sounds like. You play through run-down stations in first person, completing jobs and sprucing the place up. It looks janky, kinda like House Flipper, and while I probably wouldn't bite for $17, I gotta admit, for some, it could be a chill, almost therapeutic time. But then we get to last week's Neglected Nindies, which are the 3 titles that come recommended under no circumstances. It turns out eSolutions Nordic is not one of those companies that call to say your computer is infected with a virus and demand $300 to get it fixed. Or at least I don't think they are. Rather, they put a few solitaire games on the Switch for $5.79 in what they call Klondike Solitaire Collection.
5BN Studio
released another hidden object game, this one apparently about pirates, and it's called Lost Lands The Wanderer for $6.99. It does feature a demo if you don't understand what I mean by stare at a static screen and tap on hidden items, so there's that. Being in a part of the country that's about to be overwhelmed by 17 trillion cicadas, there's nothing sweet or romantic about the description for Navila Software Japan's Yukai Poetry, because it reads,
"The sound of cicadas, the breeze of summer. Meeting you is a small miracle in my life."
It's a visual novel with such lines as,
"Your writing isn't a bottleneck, and you will addict to online gaming."
or,
As far as crying itself, it's neither ugly nor fragile. Can I smoke here?
I'm sorry, what? Oh, and I love how in the trailer they have all these Japanese voice actors listed, and then at one point it just sweeps across the screen with
Marketing! Carol.
If you want to see what Carol is marketing, it'll cost you $5.59. Not too bad. 3 good ones, 3 bad ones, and a train station rehab simulator, wherever that falls. I want to check out Sector 781 on Nindies at Night. Are you interested in seeing it? Let me know which of these tickle your fancy down in the comments. As mentioned at the top, we've got a pretty solid week ahead, and I'm changing things up a bit regarding how we handle the shovelware. I hope you like the minor change, citizens, because now it's time to check out the 14 Nindies hitting the eShop from May 9th through the 15th. Most of the new releases arrive on Wednesday, May 12th, and the first one of note is something we've never seen before. It's a first-person escape room game. Can you believe it? Seriously though. Tested on Humans, Escape Room by Mick2 Games has a fun, Saw-like horror theme where you're escaping from a test lab where experiments are, I guess, being done on you. It's kinda different, and the visuals are better than we usually see. This one releases for $9.99.
Take on hardcore platforming challenges as a teleporting raccoon.
I'm not really sure what more I can add to that description of Rift Raccoon by East Asia Soft, Ratalaika Games, and Marcos Game Dev. It's got pixelated graphics, it definitely looks like a Ratalaika game. I think the camera is zoomed in a bit much for my tastes, but it might make for another fun $5 weekend game from Ratalaika. This next one is interesting. Open up your browser, or Twitter, or whatever. Check out Orbit Studio. They're a small Brazilian team who received funding through the Square Enix Collective to develop their isometric action RPG starring a Clank-like robot called Uprise back in 2017. Now, look at this week's release of Retro Machina, developed by the same studio, published by Super.com. It's the same game. That's weird, right? I guess the publisher could have said the game might just sell better with a different name? I don't know. Either way, I really like what I'm seeing here. It's $20, so it's not cheap, but it does look like a fully featured action RPG, kinda like Bastion. In fact, if you told me this was an early Supergiant game, I'd probably believe you. There's puzzles and combat, and you gain control of enemies to help them work with you. That studio and name thing is kinda weird, but I think Retro Machina looks like a pretty cool new game. What do you think? Point-and-click adventures aren't the most popular genre for console gamers, and frankly, we don't get that many quality entries nowadays either. However, if this is what you're into, I think Fire Unk's Quest by Daedalic Entertainment looks like a treat. The visuals are cartoony and over-exaggerated, and you play as a caveman on his search for fire, without any dialogue or text. Now, I'm not into this genre enough to tell you if this game is going to set your world on fire. See what I did there? And I should also point out that the game is regularly 99 cents on Steam, so I'd wait for a sale. But Fire launches this week for $14.99, and I think at the least, it might be worth throwing on your wish list. Before jumping to the big Thursday drop, we've got to make sure that you're aware of a few turds that will be floating in the waters of the eShop this week. Benjamin Kistler drew ovals in Microsoft Paint and stole enough code to maybe make them shoot each other in Super Space Shooter. And then he offers even less value than this episode's Nindie no-no when he pressed copy and paste on 3 solitaire games, forgot to enable the Switch's buttons and dock functionality, and used every ounce of his genius to come up with the name Solitaire Card Games. I heard that one will make your pee burn. Before we get back to real video games, the psychopaths at Pigs Farts created the world's first AD, that's artificial dumbass. They named it Benoit Verace, and it's sending 3 diseases to the eShop. Bounce Mania shows a ball of color bouncing from left to right. Olympic basketball includes such features as
Show you skills, realistics, animations,
and the potential to make you want to drink bleach. Don't drink bleach. And then someone asked Benoit,
"What kind of turbo racing game is this?"
but he was in the middle of eating a sandwich when he answered back,
"It's shitty."
so the title was mistranslated as Turbo Skiddy Racing. Don't drink bleach. The Big Thursday drop includes 6 games this week, and the first one is brought to you by
Satan himself.
because Connection Rehaunted releases for
$6.66.
You might remember the original spooky, almost augmented reality FPS game from Mr. Siatsku last year, and this one is a follow-up. You're sent a CD that contains a Quake-style first-person shooter that is full of glitches and appears to be online, but is actually haunted by all kinds of beings. I really love the game's creative premise and the way it breaks the fourth wall. This latest spooky iteration seems to go further down that rabbit hole, and it's published by No Gravity Games. What's the exact opposite of a demonically possessed first-person shooter? Well, this. Cassiori is a falling block puzzle game by
Success!
that combines desserts and anime schoolgirls for $7 even, and is guaranteed to rot not only your sweet tooth, but your prefrontal cortex too. Earlier this week, I was sifting through publisher emails in the old Nindie Nation Gmail account, and I came across a message from Forever Entertainment that really grabbed my attention. They've partnered with a developer named McKee, who has basically made a new, fully featured 16-bit JRPG that is heavily inspired by the Fire Emblem series. While I have yet to play Rise Eterna, from what I can see, I'm totally here for it. They're saying all the right things. A bunch of characters to recruit, a mature plotline, the visuals fall right in that era of late Super Nintendo, early PS1. But before you go buying it, I do have 2 concerns. One, the way the description talks about gems and crafting and recruiting characters sounds like it was initially developed as a free-to-play game, and that can be fine, but you really gotta nail the conversion to a retail release, especially when 2, the game is $20. If that and the translation are solid though, and there's a bunch of content, then $20 could be worthwhile. I'll let you know after I get some time with it, but I'd say if you like classic Fire Emblem, at least throw it on your wish list. We've got a theme brewing this week, it seems, because next up is Exademon by Jandusoft, and it calls back to early 90s first-person shooters, but in a completely different way. With low-poly 3D graphics and maze-like levels, Exademon is fast like Quake 3 Arena, but uses that whole
"my hands can shoot magic"
in a way that reminds me of Hexen. Again though, unless this game truly nails what it's going for, $12.99 is a lot to ask for. So let's keep our eyes on Exademon until we know if it's worth putting our hands on. 'Cause you have magic demon hands. Get it? Publisher 7 Levels ports a free-to-play mobile game from HomeNet Games called Space Commander War and Trade for $9.99. I think you spend the game managing resources and you choose a path as either the good guys hunting pirates, the pirates hunting trade fleets, or the neutral trade fleet itself. It's honestly kinda hard to figure out exactly what you do in this game, and the reviews seem very mixed on mobile stores, so it's probably best to wait and see what some more reputable sources say about this one once it actually hits the Switch. Then last up on Thursday is Badland Publishing's minimalist 1-bit real-time strategy game, Death Crown for $11.69. The black and white visual style is designed to be just as simple as the gameplay itself. You manage a legion of troops by harvesting resources, raising troops from a barracks, or building defense towers, and that's it. It does look unique, and the simplicity seems to lend for a fast-paced experience, and I can safely say Badland has put out some great games in the past, like Willy Jetman and Hue. You're probably going to need to be a hardcore RTS fan to get all there is out of this one, but if you are, and you're craving something easy to jump into, Death Crown might have you covered. And before we wrap up the week, there are 3 more things releasing by publishers who strive to someday wear the shovel-shaped crown of their eShop infecting elders. Taxi Driver: The Simulation by Polygon Art apparently takes place in the US city Hamside, whatever that means. And it's like Crazy Taxi, but bad and $15. Hashtag Wish Travel Super Puzzles Dream publisher
Jorge Biedma Azuar
says,
Without fun, there is no Super Puzzles Dream.
and if that's true, I can do without fun. And number one anagrams, or hashtag one anagrams, God, I swear covering these games makes me dumber, releases by Eclipse Games, and if you want my review, we can play their game too. This one is called Tub Hills. Solve that one in the YouTube comments for a free game. And now, friends, we've arrived at Friday, or as Daniel Craig would say,
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
and we've got 4 more games for you. First up is a big one, Subnautica and its sequel/expansion, Subnautica Below Zero, for $26.99. So, I know a few things about this game. One, it's a big, open-ended, sci-fi-ish underwater exploration game set on an alien planet not unlike No Man's Sky, but more guided with less of that never-ending universe stuff. You survive, explore, craft, and it actually has a mysterious narrative to explore as well. 2, there are people who have been playing this game exclusively for years and are all about it, and it's received very positive reviews across the board. 3, apparently, despite it not being in many of the trailers, this game gets scary as whoa! Let me know in the comments how true that is, but apparently some of the underwater creatures and environments can be terrifying. 4, the new expansion Below Zero lets you get out of the water, create a home base of sorts, and explore the frozen world above the sea. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this one. I've never played it, but everything that I've heard about it suggests that it is a perfect fit for the Switch as long as it runs well. Despite the spookiness, I'm tempted to pick up the new Below Zero release myself. Unknown Worlds has been working on Subnautica for years, and it seems to be an absolute work of passion for the team. If you've played it or you plan to pick it up, I want to hear more about it. Then Green Dinosaur Games teams up with Ratalaika once again to release Rabisco Plus for $4.99. It's a 2D platformer of sorts, but you're a little blob thing moving through worlds in a swimming or flying-like fashion without hitting obstacles. So it's a platformer, but there's no platforms. It looks cool and it's, pretty cute. Once again, Ratalaika is 3 for 3 this week with those quirky little weekend games. Other Kind Games and Aura Lab release Carmen Incantation 1 this week, and it's easily one of the most interesting looking games I've seen from Chili Dog Interactive. It's mostly an adventure game and employs a super bizarre and super cool hand-drawn art style that you gotta see for yourself. The story has to do with worms or evil spirits or love or I don't know what. But again, it's one that's told all without text, which is always neat when done right. The characters remind me of those weird creatures that live in the forest in the Trolls movies. Anyone? No? I don't know what else to say about Karma Incantation 1, but I really hope it's good because at $12, it almost seems worth checking out just based on how neat it looks. And finally this week, well, actually it's an odd Saturday release, the all-caps action RPG
Project Nite
hits the eShop by way of Isla Chacalier and Waithit Do Record for just $3.24. It uses an isometric, kinda cartoony art style with hack-and-slash mechanics, and while I don't think it looks too appealing, it's only $3, so you can't expect too much. There's a lot to consider this week. Subnautica is at the top of my list, but Retro Machina isn't far behind. And there's a lot of little niche games this week that make indies so much fun to explore. Let me know what you're picking up, and don't put that wallet away yet because I'm really excited about this week's list of deals. These are our picks for 7 of the best Nindie deals through at least May 16th. We start with a title that I've been waiting months to recommend. Ghost 1.0 is a run-and-gun Metroidvania that I stumbled across on sale late last year and was hooked on until I saw it to its conclusion. There's just something about its mostly linear nature that allows for tons of XP grinding and weapons upgrading that I really enjoyed. It's not gonna blow you away, but the story's cool and pretty funny at times. And if you want a fairly meaty Vania to keep you busy, right now it's 65% off for just $3.49. Seriously, there's not even a Metacritic score for this one. Let's get some more eyes on it, people. Similarly, if you want a Metroidvania that's got a bit more Castlevania in it and want to trade the sci-fi run-and-gun for more gothic castles and melee combat, 3000th Duel is very similar to Ghost 1.0, but just on the other side of the genre spectrum. I'd recommend Ghost first, but if you've already played it or you just prefer melee combat, 3000th Duel is currently half off for $7.49. I'm trying to think of a single person that I would not recommend this next game to, and I just can't think of one. ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove is the revitalization of one of the first roguelikes to ever grace a game console. You play as two aliens who are the embodiment of 90s funky fresh. You explore a series of isometric worlds and basically collect items, engage in very limited combat, take in the great music, and laugh at the hilarious antics. There's a difficulty option for any kind of gamer, and they can be combined so everyone gets the gameplay that they want. ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove is currently 68% off for $4.79 and includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Phew, glad we got one of those. But we're not done yet, because if you like top-down space shooters, one of my favorites on the Switch released just last year, and it's IAI, currently 40% off for $5.99. It isn't the most complex game, and it certainly isn't the best the genre has to offer, but it feels great and has a fun, never too grindy loop that I saw to 100% completion during my 5 or 6 hours with it. And one of my favorite space shooters so far this year, this one in the side-scrolling style, is Binary Star Infinity, which is half off for the impulse buy price of $2.49. It uses that 1-bit art style to excellent effect and is loaded with challenge, variety, and awesome music. We played it on Nindies at Night a while back if you want to check that out and hear just how much it surprised me at the time. If you like classic space shooters at all, you don't want to miss Binary Star Infinity when it's this cheap. An oldie but a goodie this week is one of my favorite guilty pleasures. Vertical Drop Heroes is a janky little mess of a game where you drop down randomized holes, bump into enemies, and see how far you can go, and then do it again until you reach the end. And for some reason, a couple years ago, I put over 25 hours into it and just couldn't get enough. Right now it's 75% off, also for $2.49, and I'm not sure that I recommend it, but man, I sure as hell love it. And it gives me one more excuse in this episode to say that it includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Last but not least on the deals list this week is the game that we checked out together during last week's Nindies at Night. Say No More is less of a game and more of an interactive comedy, very much in the humor of internet or just ridiculous culture. It's hard to explain, so just go watch last week's stream if you want to see like the first 30-45 minutes. But if you're in the mood for something that'll make you chuckle for at least a couple hours or so and always be funny to share with friends, Say No More is 33% off for $9.99. Another good mix of games, if I do say so myself, and a lot of them have been played right here on Nindie Nation, so go check out the Let's Plays and streams to see more. I want to hear what you're picking up, so drop it in the comments or join us on Discord and chat it up in the Deals channel. Speaking of Discord, the first episode of the Nindie Backlog Club discussion, where 6 of us gabbed about our time playing through Guacamelee, is now live on podcast feeds and the YouTube channel. So go throw it on while you're playing a game and give us your feedback to use for the next discussion, which will center on our next Backlog Club game, Oxenfree. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow the social medias, all that stuff, because it really helps us grow. And if you know anyone who would like Nindie Nation, please pass us along. All the links you could ever need are in the YouTube description, and if you want to join us on Discord, we would love to have you. Next week is already looking solid because we've got a trifecta shoot 'em up, a trifecta run and gun, and we finally get the chance to try out the hilarious Old People Mayhem sandbox called Just Die Already. Thanks for stopping by today, and I look forward to chatting again this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Twitch for Nindies at Night, or next week for episode 115. Until then, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 114. And remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.